Welcome again, everyone, to this Python class. So I need two software on your laptop. Okay, one is your python.exe. Okay, python.exe. This comes from python.org website. Okay, and then I want you to use IDE. IDE is to practice program. Okay, so we will be using PyCharm. PyCharm is also one of the popular IDE. Okay, so PyCharm, this is made by JetBrains company, JetBrains.com, and here you will find two versions. One is Enterprise Edition, and you have Community Edition. Community edition is for people like us to do research, learn, practice, and enterprise is for developing applications. So we don't have to use enterprise. Enterprise is paid, community is totally free. Okay, so download community edition, not the enterprise edition. Okay, so I will show you. Okay, for example, so let's say first Python, right? To go, so python.org is the official homepage of Python. Okay, all the documentation, everything is kept here. We will slowly see how to use this. Okay, if you have to learn about something new, we have to go and you can search here and it will give you all the information, right? So this is python.org is the official website. You can even download the source code of Python program. Okay, you have source code in C, Java, and I think in C# also they have. So once you have this, go to downloads. Okay, so see, this is the source code. If you want to see source code of Python, you can download it, but that is not our interest. Our interest is downloading this Python. So you will have Python 2 and Python 3. Python 2 is old, no longer supported, and Python 2 is little different than Python 3. Okay, so if you are using Mac or Linux, okay, if you are using non-Windows system, the non-Windows system comes with default Python installation. Okay, but default installation is Python 2. Okay, so even then you have to install Python 3. Python 3 is the go forward version. Okay, in Python 3, the latest one is 3.9. You can actually go and use 3.9. You will see that I'm still using 3.7 or 3.8. Okay, so if it's for Windows, you can download it here. For Mac, okay, you can download from the Mac section here. Other platforms, you know, you can use it. So depending upon whichever machine you are using, you can go and download the Python. Once you download the Python, double click and install. Okay, the document will be shared. Okay, so Rajgopal and Surya, if you are, so you can share the document one with the new students. Okay, those who are joining for the first day today, you can share the document one, Python 1, that talks about the installation steps. So first download Python, then okay, go and download JetBrains.com. Okay, you can say PyCharm. It will give you with download for the Windows, something like that. It will take us to JetBrains.com. Okay, go to JetBrains.com, PyCharm download, and I said there will be two versions: professional, not enterprise. Sorry, this is professional and community. Okay, so we are interested in community. Go and download this black button. Okay, this is so you have blue one and black one. Download the black one, community edition. Okay, so once you download it again, install it. Steps I have in the document will have the steps. So once you have these two software downloaded, you are ready to program this. Okay, so here you have to go and create what is called as project. Okay, what does project mean? Project basically means that you are creating a folder. That's all. Means that you're creating a folder. But in Python, we have concept of virtual environment. Okay, virtual environment means, see, you might have you can install multiple Python. Okay, you can install Python 3.9, 3.8, 3.7. You can install multiple, because you might need different version for different kind of applications. When you're actually working in Office, you might be working on 3 or 4 applications, and 3 or 4 applications might have been developed on different platform, right? So you might have to install multiple versions of Python. When you install multiple versions of Python, what happens? It's like virtual environment is like creating a separate environment for that particular version. So if you see here, when I have already installed Python. right? So here it is showing me interpreter. Okay, now in Python versus C, C++ or Java, Python is called interpreter. Python.exe is called interpreter. Java is called Java compiler. You have Java compiler, C compiler. Okay, but in Python we call it as interpreter. Interpreter means you are executing the line one by one. Okay, executing the program line line by line. Okay, we'll talk about it once we start doing the program. So here it will ask you, you can define your own folder. Okay, you can say C, Python projects, okay, practice or something. So this is, it will create a folder structure like this. In C, Python training projects and practice, a folder will be created. And this will be linked to, if you have already, that's what I'm saying, if you have already installed Python before, it will pick the Python from the home, okay, from environment home. So see, I can actually see, so I have 3.8 and 3.6. You can select whichever version you want. So I have multiple versions, so it's giving me all the versions. I had 3.2, 3.3, which is no longer there. So that's why it's showing cross. That means it is not available. So I can choose, if I want to do in 3.8, I can do 3.8. If I want to do in 3.7, I can do it in 3.7. So this is how you can choose which version of Python you want to use. And once you create, and when I say create, it's going to create a virtual environment. I'm not going to do that. It takes some time. It can take 5 to 10 minutes. It'll create a virtual environment. Okay, it's kind of separate structure. Okay, so before starting a new project, it is advisable that you create a separate virtual environment and you put everything in that. Okay, so again, I'm not going to create project because I already have created, I cancel it. But when you're using for the first time, you have to create one project. Once you create the project, so in my project name here is practice one. Okay, so this is written in bold. I can go and I can add new file, new, and you see there's something called as file here. So click on Python file. Okay, and you can say Python 2.1 something. You can give some name, file name. So I give file name as PUP2, whatever. So then once I say OK, by default p21.py will be created. Okay, Python file extension is .py is created, and you get a screen like this. All our program we will do it on this screen. Okay. Now when we see, there are some theory, okay, which I'm not going to discuss. You can actually read. So when you get the document, you read through those theories, and if you have any question, you can ask me. Okay, so see, you get a screen like this, and this is where you will do all your program. Okay, so first I'll talk about the screen. Here your program will be there at the top. Okay, you can open multiple programs. All the tab you see, these are different programs. Okay, which are open. So if you look at, this is the folder structure. Okay, I have so many .py files. You see P1, P2, P5, P11, P21, P300. You know, all those. These are static.py, prog. So all these are py files. Static model.py. All these are py files. Okay, and there are some other like png.csv. Okay, .pkl. All these files are in my folder. I can see here. And if I want to open the new file, I'll just go and click on this. When I click on this, that file will be opened here. You can open multiple files here, okay? But if you're executing, that file has to be here, okay? You cannot execute the file which is not there. So you have to first open, and let's say I want to run P21. So I'll go to run, I'll select run, okay? And then I say P21. When I say P21, at the bottom, the program will run here. Output will come at the bottom here. Okay. See, once you have already linked, now by default you see P21. If you want to change to different file, I want to run say P11. So I will go and say run, and then I select P11. Okay. So I can go and change my program whenever I want to. Okay. And the output will come here. So when you run this output, actually you can see, okay, this is the output will come here, and you see this is the path for Python.exe. space the file name, which file name you are running. So once you have linked it, you can actually call from here itself. You don't have to go and run it again. If you are changing the file name, if you're running instead of P11, you're running P21 or P, then you have to go to run and select the correct file. But if you're running, repeating, right? You're writing the program, changing it again, want to run it again, change, run, then you can directly save from this green icon. Okay. Any question before we begin? Okay. So we will begin with our first program. Okay. So the first command that we're going to learn is called print. Okay. Python is case sensitive language. Okay, it means smaller letter and capital letter, they are different. Okay. Almost all of the Python commands are small letters. Okay, there are a few exceptions, we'll see as we go along. But everything is in small. So when I say print is in small. Okay. So print is a function. Now, if you don't know what function is, we'll have a separate discussion on function. But remember here that a function means that the implementation is done somewhere else. That is the code, okay, or what it does is done somewhere else. So it's like this. When you go to when you want to take a Xerox, for example, you want to take a photocopy, right? You go to a shop and you give the original and they'll give you the Xerox. You are not interested to know what is the cost of the Xerox machine, which company's Xerox machine they are using, okay, what is the cost, what, you're not bothered. You say, okay, how much money it is, 2 rupees, okay, here's the document, here's 2 rupees, give me the Xerox, right? So what happens, implementation details is hidden. So similarly, when you say print does some set of operation. That set of operation is already hidden. Okay, we are not bothered. I'm saying this is the input, give me the output. I'm not interested in whether it's a 1-line code or 100 lines code, complex, not complex. I'm not interested. What happens is it saves our time. Okay. Otherwise, I have to if you have to implement the print concept, I have to write 10 lines of code to get the output. So functions are here in Python 3 types, mainly 2 types. One is called inbuilt function, one is user-defined function. Inbuilt function means when you install Python, the definition of those functions are already defined. Okay, the developers of Python have already added those functions, and we are using it from day one. That's the inbuilt function. So that's what inbuilt. It's already built inside. So print is inbuilt. Okay, we don't have to write code for print. It is already defined, and on the textbooks and when you are reading or when you are doing any program, okay, you don't have to talk about what impression of print. Okay, you only say that okay, this is the kind of input it takes, this is the output it gives. The computer programming does 3 steps. Okay, every computer program you look at, it performs 3 steps. One is it takes input. So when you are performing any logic in any program, you have to break the program into 3 parts. First part is input that your program will need, input that it takes from the user. Okay, then the processing. The computer will use its brain. That's why you're actually using computer, right? So input you have to provide first, then computer will run and perform the logical operations, and then you get the output. Third step is output. Output is whatever computer has done is printed on the screen or given to you. Whatever command you want computer to do it, computer will do it. Okay, you want to launch a browser, you want to do output, you want to launch a you want to perform a machine learning algorithm output, or whatever you are doing, it is going to give you the output. So it takes input, process it, and then third step is output. Okay, so as I said, right, print is the first command that we're going to learn in Python. Now, what happens? This is the syntax of print. Okay, print. Okay, in small and bracket open, simple bracket open. All the function, this is how you call. Okay, whether it's inbuilt function or user-defined function. User-defined function says you write the implementation. Okay, you write the implementation of this, and what we say is you write the implementation once, but you can use it multiple times. So I can define, let's say I want to write my own sum, something like that. Okay, so I say my own sum. Okay, and I write the logic here. So from next time onwards, I only have to call my home sum to get all these things accomplished. I will not have to write multiple times. That's the advantage of using function. Right? You don't have to go and buy a Xerox machine to print one copy. Right? You go to shop. So what I'm trying to say is you define, okay, you create a shop, and every time you go, get the Xerox in the shop. You locate the nearest shop, right, from your home where you want to get the Xerox, and every time you go there and get it. You don't have to worry about what is the maintenance period, who's going to maintain, what is the cost. You are not bothered. He charges you 2 rupees, you pay 2 rupees. His internal cost could be 20 paisa or 1 rupee or 1.50 paisa. You are not bothered. So you define the function once, and you can call it multiple times. So you are saving time and code and all those things. So we'll discuss when we get into function. So here we are going to use inbuilt function called print, and whatever you give inside the print is printed. Okay, so when I say print 4 and when I run it, and this is what program number P21. So I'm going to say run P21. So you see output is printed here as 1. So print is a function which prints the output, okay, and whatever you give inside is going to print it. Okay, so so this is how print works. Now talking about the data types, okay, and this is important topic called data types. See, when I gave 4, so 4 is printed. Now I give print, say hello. Now see, the hello I gave is in a quotation, and quotation can be single or double or triple. We'll discuss later. You can give single or double. Okay, whatever I gave inside the quotation, when I run it, it is going to print as it is. The difference between this 4 and hello is this 4 is number, value. 4 is value. Value is printed. If I don't declare this hello in double quotation, if I don't declare hello in double quotation, what does that mean? It means that hello is not a value. Hello is representing some value. We call them as variable. Okay, we call them variable. Variable is the name that we give to a value. Okay, so this is something. Okay, we give it a name as bottle. Right? That means when I say bottle, then this is what I need. Right? So actual content of this is whatever. Right? But I have given it a name as bottle. So when you are defining multiple values, you give a variable name to the values. Okay, so either you print value as it is, or you assign to a variable and then you print it. The advantage of assigning to a variable is I want to print say 4, right? Now let's say now I want to print. So the advantage is I want to print 4. So you have said print 4. Now next time I want to print 6, and let's say this 4 is multiple places. So I have print here, print 4, print 4, print 4. Okay, I have 4 print. Okay, so when I run it, you get 4 prints here. Now when I have 4 print here, and now next time I want to run, I want to print 6. So what I have to do? I have to go everywhere and I have to change it to 6. Correct? And sometimes what happens is you're remembering, right? We might miss changing at one place. So one is effort required is more. Every time you have to go search. Here only 4 lines. You might have 100 lines, and then in the 100 line you have 4 places you have to change. So you have to go through all the 100 lines of code. You have to change it. And second thing is still even after putting so much effort, you might miss changing somewhere. Right here, I miss changing 4. So instead, what we do is we have the concept called variable. So what we say is always use a variable, something like this. And variable name can be anything. Okay, variable name. So this is a variable we are saying num. Variable equal to 6. So we are saying num is a variable and whose value is 6. Okay. So now what happens everywhere when I'm developing the application, I will put num. I'll put num. Okay. So when I run it, you see, you get 66666. Now I want to print 32. Okay, I just change in one place. I don't have to change multiple places. When I run it, so what print is doing is print is changing the variable to the value of the variable when I'm printing it. Okay. Instead, I can even give a what do you call some kind of statement. I can say 3 plus 2 minus 5 divided by 2, something like that. So what happens when I run it? It will evaluate and give me the answer only. It will not give me 3 plus 2 blah blah. Okay, so line number 1, we are creating a right side. Okay, so this is how we do in mathematics also, right? We say let x be 50. Why do we say let x be 50? Because whenever you are using x, then every places of x will assume it to be 50. Right? So same thing here. So we are saying let num be 3 plus 2 minus 5 by 2. So you applying BODMAS rule, 5 by 2 2.5, 3 plus 2 5 minus 2.5 is 2.5. That's why you're getting 2.5. And everywhere else you are calling the variable name, okay, and the value of the variable is printed. That's the advantage. The value of the variable will be printed. Okay. So okay, so this is it. Now, couple of things you have to keep in mind when you're declaring a variable name. One, the variable name should start with an alphabet. Okay, since Python is case sensitive, num and say num both are different. Okay, so if I print num, I get 2.5, and if I print capital num, okay, I'll get 5, right? So since it is case sensitive, Python will treat both these variable names as different. That's why you see 5 and 2.5. Okay, one. Second thing is, I said right, first character has to be a alphabet. Okay, whether small or capital doesn't matter. Has to be alphabet. Second character onwards, you can use numbers or underscore. Underscore is the only special character which is allowed to give in declaring the variable name. So I can say, num2. Okay, I can say n1 num6. You can do that. Okay, it is not going to give me error. But I cannot say 9 num. Okay, 9 num is wrong. The first character has to be an alphabet, but second character onwards you can put number as well, no problem. And you can use underscore. So I can say nu underscore um6. So generally when you want to concatenate or you want to use two name like sum of something, sum of 3 numbers, you can say sum underscore of underscore. So underscore is allowed, okay, and numbers are allowed, but numbers are allowed only after first position, not in the first position. Okay, so this is about the variable names. Now when so we'll change it back. Okay, so whenever you are giving, whenever you're calling a text, okay, Python knows that it is a variable. Okay, Python knows it is a variable. So when you are calling, let's say num2, let's say, so it's giving error. Okay, red line. Why red line? Telling us that num2 is not defined. Okay, so when I run it, num2 is not defined. Name num2, variable name. So name means variable name. Num2 is not defined. There is nothing called as num2. So it's giving error to us. Okay. So whenever you are calling the text without quotation, it is like you're calling name. It is a name and you are using a name. And that's why when I'm running this, it's giving me error. Second thing is, if I want to print num, I don't want to print the value of num. I want to print num2. Then I will have to define it as string. Okay, I have to define it as string. String means text. And how do you define text? You define text using quotation, I told you, right? Hello. So now when I run it, okay, in fact, I'll remove 2. Okay. So see this. Number 4, here it is not replaced with a value because we are saying it is a string. When we are saying a string, it is printing the text as it is. Okay. So you say num is num. Here there is no quotation. So we are saying that print the value of this variable. So you get the value. Value is capital num is 5. So you get 5 here. Can, right? So the next one. So if I say num equal to 5 and then I say num equal to 15, the latest value is taken. So here if I print, okay, it will give me 5, but here it will give me 15. So at one point of time you can overwrite. It's called overwriting. You're overwriting the value. Previously you said 5, now you're saying 15. You're overwriting, okay? But at one point of time it will have only one value. Otherwise it's a confusion, right? It's a confusion, right? Should I print 5 or 15? Okay, to avoid that confusion, what it says is it will print the latest value. Okay, and you cannot store two values. So there are different ways. We are just doing the basic. Okay, later we'll, after a few classes, we get into list and tuple. We'll see how you can store more than one value to a variable. Okay, but here you can't assign 2 different times and be able. So here the reference to num equal to 5 is lost. There is no way I can access the value 5. Okay, so what I have to do, let's say if I have to save this, so what I'll say, I will say num copy equal to 5, okay, or num copy equal to num, and then I say num equal to num 15. So I'm saying num equal to 5, num copy equal to num, and num equal to 15. What I'm doing here, I'm trying to store the previous value, okay, in different variable, and now I'm calling the assigning a new value. Okay, now I'm assigning the new value to it. Okay, so this is how you have to look at it. Okay. Okay. So now, when you say when we discuss was values, we discuss 2 things: one, number, and text string. Numbers, there are 2 types of numbers. One is your decimal number, and one is your integer number. Difference is that integer number will not have decimal point. Okay, 5.0, is it integer or decimal? 5.0 is decimal because there is a point. Okay, so if there is a point, it is decimal. Now you must have done this in your 7th or 8th class, that when you have 5.0 and 5.5, 5.0 has more accuracy than 5. Because when I say 5, it would even mean 4.99. It could even mean 5.11. So you are rounding it to 5. So when we don't put decimal, you don't know decimal is there or not. But when you say 5.0, it cannot be 5.1 or 4.9, or it means it is 5.0. Yes, it can be 5.01. It can be 5.02. It can be 4.99. Okay, so that's why when you say 0, it still means decimal. It says a significant value. It says more accuracy. Accuracy is higher in when you have more digits in the decimal. Okay, so 5.0 is float. So we have second function. Okay, we're going to talk about second function called type. Type is a function which gives us the data type. So when I say type of 5.0, okay, it'll tell us what it is. So now what I'm going to do, I'm using type to tell us what type of value it is using. Okay, now I want it to print this value for me. So I say print type of So see, it told me class float. Okay, it is class float. So this value 5.0 is float, not integer. Okay. So this is integer. When I don't define decimal point, it is integer. And when I define decimal point, it is float. And you have third type, okay, third data type. So we have seen integer, we have seen float, okay, we have seen print, and we have seen type. Two functions we have seen so far. We have seen integer, float, okay, and string. Okay, so when I say a equal to hello, it is a is what? Louder, not here. Huh? A is a variable name. Okay, is a variable. Okay, a is a variable and its name is a. Of course, a is a variable. And what is the value of a? Hello, not how. Hello, right? So value of a is hello, which is of type string. So you can have integer, float, string. Okay, and there are two more which we will see. Okay, Boolean and complex. Okay, so this is how string is. Now you can add to string, you can add to numbers. So we have a separate topic on string. Okay, that itself will take us about 2-3 hours to talk about different functionalities that are there in the string. So, but simple functionality I want to show is when I say a equal to hello plus friends friends, and when I run this print a, okay, you will see hello friends. Okay, so you can concatenate. So when you put plus between two numbers, it will do the sum. When I say 4 plus 5, it will give me what? 9. When I say hello plus friend, it will give me what? Hello friend. If I say hello plus 5 as a numerator, it will give me error. Okay, so you cannot add string to number. So when I run this, okay, you will see can only concatenate string, not int to str. Because first one is str, so it's trying to concatenate, but you know this number is numeric 5 or integer 5. It is not going to get added to this. So what happens if we want to add 5? You have to convert into string, and we have a function called str. When you say str of, it can convert anything to a string. Str is the third function we are going to see. Str of 5 will convert into string. So now when I run it, so you see, you give me hello 5. The number 5 is numeric, but we are converting into a string. So this is called explicit conversion. Explicit conversion means we are forcing 5 to get converted into string. Now you tell me, okay, so this is about a. What I'm going to do now is I'm saying a equal to 3, and here I'm going to say 4.0. So if I print a, what do you see? Hmm? 7.0. So a, okay, we are passing integer and float. When you're passing integer and float, answer will be either an integer value or a float value. But if you put integer value, what happens? The decimal point is lost. You are losing data. So there is data loss. And data is getting lost there. Value is changing. Meaning is changing. So what happens? A will be converted into float to save the decimal part. So this is called implicit conversion. The type of A will change based on the value. So if I say A plus 3 plus 4.0 and A plus 3 4, and when I run it, okay, so see, you get 7.0 in first case because it is a 4 is a decimal point. Okay, you get only 7 in second case. Okay, because both 3 and 4 are integers. So here the type of A is getting implicit conversion. Type of A is getting converted by itself. We are not forcing it to be either integer or float. Depending upon the value that you provide, then a type of A will change. Right? So this is called implicit conversion. And for that matter, you have for here you can convert all the valid values into integer using int of, float into float of, bool into bool of, list as list of, okay, complex as complex of, right? We have not done all this, we'll do, okay. You can convert a value into, now I can convert, so let's say, I'm going to say here, so let's say I have A equal to 5. So 5, what is the data type of 5? A. What is the data type of A? String, because I've defined as a string. I want to convert into integer. So I will say, okay, so let me print the type here. Type of A, okay. Now I'm going to I'm going to say int of. Okay, now remittancy. So see here, first it was string because I've declared 5 as string in quotation. Now converted into integer. So it became integer 5. Now this will happen only when there is a valid conversion, right? I cannot say anything. I cannot say 5a. I can say convert 5a into integer. I mean, 5a cannot be converted into integer, right? So now if I run this, what is the error? Invalid literal for int. That means for int it is not a valid number. Invalid literal. You cannot. The value is invalid for integer. It is not an integer value. 5a is not integer, so you can't convert. So you can only convert a valid values. You can't convert any values to any value, right? Of course, 5a you can't convert, but 5 you can, right? So okay. So this is how you can convert values. Coming back to print. Print can take any number of parameters. A parameter means that when you define or when you send some value to function, when you send some value to function, so this is a function. Right? For example, again, going back to a Xerox example, when you want to get Xerox, you cannot say, give me a Xerox. You have to give your document. When you go to a shop to buy pen, you will say, give me a pen. In that case, we don't have to pass any value. You just say, give me a pen. So there's a function called input, and we'll talk about what input does. Input. Here I'm saying input, I'm not passing anything. It's like input, do input. Like do input. Okay. Here is like do print, do input. Now, if I say print, it is like empty calling print without doing anything. Okay. So to show you the difference, so I'm going to say print last line, something like that. Now when you run it, okay, I have to change it. So one more thing you see, why Python is called interpreter is we had error in line number 20. Okay, so everything till line number 19 is printed, right? Type of 5 is a string. So it has performed everything till line number 19. It found mistake in line number 20. So it stopped there. It did not go to 21, 22, 23, 24. If it was a Java program, if you had done same mistake in Java or C++, it wouldn't have run. Just C++ will give you all the warnings and errors first. And errors you can't, warning can ignore and execute, but errors you can't ignore. You have to first fix the error and then run it. So compiler will take all, like in our case, we have 24 lines of code. It will take all the 24 lines of code, convert into, see, what is Python.exe, what is interpreter, what is compiler. Interpreter compiler is, see, we understand natural languages, right? Whether talk about English or Telugu or Hindi or whatever, that is called natural languages. We understand natural languages, but machine understands binary language, 0 and 1. Okay, machine understands binary language. We understand natural language. So it's like if you have someone who is speaking only English, and then you have someone who speaks only French, for example. How will those two guys communicate? You need an interpreter in between, right? You need an interpreter in between. So when our PM meets French president doesn't know English or Hindi, right? So you need an interpreter who will translate Hindi to French and French to Hindi. So that's called interpreter. So same way, we speak English and machine speaks binary language, 0, 1. So we need Python.exe, cpp.exe, java.exe. These are the programs, special programs, which will translate English to binary, binary to English. That's why we are able to communicate with machine. Machine, as I said, understand only 0s and 1, right? So our language, when I say a equal to 3 plus 4.0, this is converted into binary, sent to machine. Machine gives the output in binary, now converted back to our language. So there are two ways of converting. One is, let's say if I have to talk to a French person, and I will then speak everything that I want to speak. Okay, I'll speak 15 minutes. Now the other guy will take that content and then will speak for another 15 minutes, right? So translating what I said. That is what compiler does. Compiler will wait for you to run all the 24 lines of code, and then if there's an error, we'll fix the error and then it will run. Interpreter, and actually that's why it's called interpreter in those words also, where sentence is spoken, translated, spoken, translated, spoken, translated, spoken, translated back, spoken. So this is happening at runtime, at very fast pace. So that's why when we had a mistake in line number 20, it executed in line number 19. Okay, interpreter is doing line by line. When in 20 did not understand what you're trying to say, then he will ask you, I didn't understand what you're trying to say. Fix it. Okay, we fixed it. Then now it was understand. So now again translating back into machine, and when I run it, that error will go and we get correct output. So see, we got string and int here. Okay, so see here, when I did not give any value, it's called no value. I'm not passing any value to print. What it does, it printed a blank line. So that's why I give last one. So you see, there's a blank line here. So blank line is printed when we did not pass any value to print. Okay. So we have print, type of a print. Okay. So in this case, we are saying that we did not pass any value. There's no parameter. Parameter is a value that we pass to a function. So print, we are not passing any parameter. Okay. Second thing is, in print, you can pass any number of parameters. You can pass any number of parameters. Okay, what it means is, I can say 5, comma 10, comma 0. How many parameters are we passing? 3 parameters. What are the 3 parameters? 5, 10, 0. Values are passing as a string. We are passing string values directly. How are parameters separated? Comma. Comma separates the parameter. So if I don't put comma, okay, it will be error because this is one parameter and this is another parameter. So this has to be separated by comma. Okay, you can have value and variable both combination. So I can say 5, comma A, comma 10, comma, will go up. What other values I have used? Say num. Okay, so we go back and say num. So when you run it, you get 5. A value is 5. 5, 10, num is 2.5. 2.5 is 0. It got printed. Okay, so you can give any number of parameter to print. It will print value or variable. You see that by default, a space is introduced. So when you are printing different values in print, a blank space between those values will be printed. When you concatenate, when we did hello friends, it was hello friends, no space was there. So when you concatenate, no space will be introduced. But when you say A, comma B, comma C, comma D, between value A and value B, a blank space is introduced. Between B and C, a blank space is introduced. C and D, a blank space is introduced. Between those parameters, by default, a blank space will be introduced. Okay, so you can define the way you want to write. Okay, so here, what I can say here is, okay, I can say the value of A is, okay, comma A. What happened? I want to print the value of A is as it is, and then I want to print the value of A. So the text that I need to print as it is in quotation. I mean, of course, simple bracket plus this in quotation. Simple bracket is common. We have to write for every function. The value that you want to print as it is has to be in double quotation. You did not sleep well in the night? Okay, no issues. So value of A is, you can watch recording also, no worries, okay? The value of A is, I want to print as it is. So I said the value of A is as it is, comma A. When I say A, the value of A will be printed. So when I run this P21, so the value of A is, you see, it is printed as it is. Okay. And then this is the first parameter, text as it is, comma A. A means value of A is printed here. Okay. So this is how you can combine, and we will see some examples later how to use print in that way. Oh yes, here we did it, right? If you see here line number 19, what we have given a function inside a function. You can give function inside a function inside a function inside a function. Okay, for example, A equal to 5. So when I say type of A, it is telling us string. But to print on the screen, I have to use print command. Right? So I can even do int of A. So when I say int of A, okay, and I can define here, I can read some text here. Checking the data type of A, colon. Okay, so this is the text. Okay, we are putting, and after this text, we are putting this as value here. Okay, in that we have one more function, and so we have print outer function, that inner you have type, and inside that you have int of. So we are using 3 functions. What happens is when you're using these functions, the innermost function will be called. What is the innermost function? Int of A. So first A, which is string, will be converted into integer. Then we are saying type of A. So now type of A will give us int. Then we are calling it print. Print has 2 parameters. One, checking the data type of A, string as it is, comma, and that whole thing is validated to int. So when I run it, checking the data type of a class int. Okay, so first innermost function, then outer, last the outermost function will be called. Right? All good? Okay, so now what I'll do is I want you all to write a program to take two sides, okay, side 1, side 2, and calculate area of let's say side of rectangle. Okay, so calculate area of rectangle and print it. Do it fast. You can do it. Today you can use notebook. And guys, who has computer can practice quickly. If you don't have software installed, you can do it tomorrow. Just do it on notebook. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. And I'm not going to test it. I'm going to write my own version here. Okay, then you can compare your version to my version. So question is, takes two sides of a rectangle, calculate area and print the area. So input is take two sides of a rectangle, then calculate area, and last you would print, okay, the area. Okay, so take 2 minutes, think, write this program, and then I will write also here. You can write in different ways. Okay, so you try to do it in your way, and then you can compare how I do it. So we'll be back in 2 minutes. Try to Eric, let me type the program and compare your, and let me know if you have any doubt. Okay, so I'm going to write my program here. I'm going to say side 1 equal to 50, side 2 equal to say 40, area of rectangle equal to side 1 into side 2. Okay, so yeah, I have to do this operation. We'll do operation in some time. Okay, so we know that just the basic one we know, plus minus into division, right? So into is star. Okay, so basic we know. Later we'll do little more, some few more operations. So area of rectangle to side 1 to side 2. Then I'm going to say print area of the rectangle is comma area of the rectangle, right? So when I run this, so you see again area of the rectangle is 50 into 40, 2000. Now I can even add better way. I can say area of the rectangle whose sides are, okay, so the space will be put by default area whose sides are comma side 1 comma and comma side 1 and side 2 comma is area of rectangle. So see what I'm doing. I said, right, you can give any number of parameters. So how many parameters I have given here? How many parameters print has it here?
3.
6, right? 3 of them are values and 3 of them are text, right? So this is 1. So when I run this, it will print this, correct? Then the value of side 1, right? Then and the text, then side 2 value, then is, okay, and then the value of area of rectangle. Okay, let me run this and see. Any question, guys, here? Up to us, right? We can give any value, 50, 50, you know. Right? So area of a rectangle, square is also a type of rectangle only, right? area of rectangle whose sides are 50 and 50 is 2500, right? So this is how we can give multiple parameters. Now we'll do that. We'll come back. So see, you have input I have put here. Using input, we'll do it. We'll come back to it. So we'll just print. There's few more things I have to do it in print. Once we do the print, and then we come back to input. Okay. So okay. So this is how you can do that multiply. What happens in such cases? See, previously we said area colon area, one text, one variable, no confusion. Here, when you're doing this, you can even have confusion basically, right? When to put, and if you have multiple variables, you can even have more confusion. So there's another way of doing same thing. We call it as format string. Okay, so we say print. Okay, area of the rectangle, right? Area of rectangle whose sides are. After this, we want to print a value of a variable. Correct? This is fixed text. After this, I want to print value of a variable. So I'm going to put space flower bracket. Flower bracket. So flower bracket means it's a placeholder where a variable will come. Okay, a variable will come here. Comma. No, not comma. Right. And another value will come here. Variable value will come. Is value of variable will come. Okay. Area of rectangle whose sides are dash and dash is dash. Basically, that's what it means. Then we come here. We say dot. Okay, not comma. Dot. So we are saying this is a string, and this again we'll revisit when we do string. So we are saying dot format. And format is a function which can take parameters. So now you define all the variables here. The first one is what? Side 1. So you say side 1, comma, you say side 2, comma, you say area of rectangle. Okay. What happened here is we are inside this, we are giving a placeholder. And then we are saying format this. Okay, so everything will be given to you. Okay, you don't have to worry. Okay, the code. I don't believe in PPTs. Okay, so I don't create PPTs. Everything is in the Word document. Word document will be given. Okay, so you will see all this. So you don't have to note it down. Okay, you can practice it when you get the document. So see here. Okay, so here the difference is we did not give colon, right? So if we give colon, it will look exactly the same. Okay, so you can do that. So we are giving placeholder, 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 dot format, and in the same order we are giving side 1. So here what happened? This side 1 will be replaced in the first bracket. Side 2 will come here. How does it know that it has to map here? So in Python, the counting starts from 0. Okay, we call them indexing. Indexing starts from 0. So here, okay, you will have 0. This is the value that will come. The index of this particular value is 0. So index of this is 0. Index of this is 0, and index of this is 0. Right? Now, when you look at the index of this side 1, side 2, and by default, index of the first variable in the format is also 0. So this 0 will go to 0 position by default. So by default, when we don't define anything, we don't define any indexing, the side 1 will come here, side 2 will have, index as 1 here, and this is index of this is 2. The moment you say area, it will give you suggestion down when select it. So one option is best practices. So if I have declared here area of rectangle, right? So if I have to copy here, if I have to type here, don't type everything. One option is you copy this and paste. Second option is you start typing area. It will suggest you down. Look here. That's what I'm saying. When I'm doing it, please look here. To fix that problem, you'll miss two other topics. Okay. So see, here when I say area, okay, see, it has given suggestion. That's why we call it intelligent. These editors are intelligent editors. So you don't even have to type fully. You just go here and double click on this. Okay. So making sure that you are not, playing with the spellings. Okay. So that's how you should do it. Okay. Okay. Coming back to this. Okay. So what I was saying is, when you are declaring in this format, by default, okay, this will have an index of 0. In Python, indexing starts from 0. In Python, indexing starts from 0. So when I'm saying that this is my first flower bracket, that means Python says, okay, this is your 0th flower bracket. This is your first flower bracket. This is your second flower bracket. Here, same way when we're passing value to the format function, Python says, okay, this is your 0th parameter. This is your first parameter. This is your, not the whole thing, this thing. This is your second parameter. So the first parameter, this is your first parameter, we will go to the first flower bracket. 0th parameter will go to your 0th flower bracket. Second parameter will go to your second flower bracket. Okay. So index by default is 0, 1, 2. It is in this order. You can even change that order. So Control C. I go here and I say Control V. Area of rectangle whose sides are, I can mention it as 0, 1, 2. Okay, so this is same as line 31 is same as line 30. Okay, line 31 is same as line 30. In line 30, we did not give the index. In line 31, we are giving the index. But since the index is 0, 1, 2 by default, there is no difference between line 30 and 31. Okay, there is no difference in line 31 and 30, because by default I'm saying that what am I saying?
Use first 0, 1, 2 accordingly.
Right? Yes. Okay. So there is no difference. Okay.
You can flip flop also 2, 0, 1.
Exactly. That was my next point. Okay. So here, what I'm saying is, I am saying, okay, 0, 1, 2. Now you can change the order here. See, this order I cannot change. This parameter order I cannot change. This will be whatever you give, side 1, side 2. Now let's say I want to print side 1 here. I will say 1. And I want to print side 2 here. I want to print side 1 here. So I'll say 1, 0, 2. It means here I want second parameter. By default, it is in same order 0, 1, 2, but you can play with the order. So here I can say 1, 0, 2. 1 means I want to use second parameter from this function. So this side 2 value will come here. Side 1 value will come 0, right? And this will come here. Right? You can change the order. Okay. Okay, we are not done yet. There is one more way. That is even simpler than this. This is called formatting basically, and what we're going to do is called F string. Okay. So here I'm going to say print. Okay, and I'm going to put this whole thing. Sorry. To copy. Control C. Control V. Okay. So till here it's the same. Instead of putting dot format here, I'm putting F in the beginning before the quotation. One more thing here, when you are defining this quotation, right? Whatever you begin with, same thing you have to end with. You are allowed to use single quotation or double quotation, right? So if I use double quotation here, I cannot use single quotation at the end. Whatever you start with, same thing you have to end with. Okay. So I put F here. Okay. That's the one change. Second change is instead of giving 1 2 0 here, it doesn't know what is 0 1 2, right? You can directly give the variable here. Okay. Let's run this and see first. See, it gave us same result. Right? To know the differentiation, what I'll do is I'll say one dot. Okay, so you know which line is which output is for which line.
I think you can change value for one of the values, side 1 or side 2, so that it will be easy, right? Because since both are 50-50.
Right. So I'll change it to 40. Okay. So third way is using F string. So you put same thing. Okay, the text part is same. Instead of putting index number, you put the variable name itself, and you put F here to indicate that we are using F string here. Similarly, we have R for regular expression. Okay, R string for regular expression. We'll talk about regular expression. Okay, all good. Okay. So this is about print. Okay, depending upon your comfort level, depending upon it's very comfortable only. Okay, you can use any one of these. Okay, whether you want to use multiple parameters or you want to use format or you want to use F string. Okay. Okay. Any question before we move to next topic? Okay. Now we will talk about input. We'll talk about input. See, till now what we've been doing is we are giving the values here itself in the program itself. Side 1 equal to 50, side 2 equal to 40. What if we want to read value dynamically or want to read value from the user? Okay, so for that we use function called input. Input is a function which is used to read value from the user. So before that, I'll tell you, see here, if you look at the output at the bottom here, what we see exit code 0. Exit code 0 indicate the program has run successfully. Okay, exit, so your process finished will be there when your program ends. If you do not see, that means the program is still running. Okay, when you see process finished, that means your program is ended. And when you see code 0, 0 means your program has run successfully as expected. There is no problem with your program. If there is some problem, okay, you will not get exit code 0. You'll get something else. For example, if I go back to my example here, if we were trying to convert into int, right? Okay, so let's say I put 5a. Okay, and now I run it. So see, process finished, program ended, but exit code 1, not 0. It means your program has not ended as per expectation. There is some problem, go and fix it. It has ended, but it hasn't ended normally. Okay, it hasn't ended to your expectation. Krishna, look here, please. You guys close the laptop. I'll tell you when to start. Close this thing. I'll tell you when to do it. Okay. So you have exit code 1. Exit code 1 means your program has not executed normally. Okay, so let's fix that. Okay, let's run it. Now let's come back to our input. So I say input equal to this. Okay, when I run it, P21. So see, my program here, if you see, is waiting for me to give value. Here, the cursor is waiting. It's not process finished. That means program has not ended. It is waiting for me to give value to input. Input is like, you don't know, if you have done program in Java, otherwise you have get ch, right? Like get ch, input is waiting. It is input for, it is waiting for you to give some value. Okay, so when I give some value here, w, it now ended. Okay, so input took the value from the keyboard, from the user. What I'm going to do is instead here, I'm going, so now when you take the value, you have to assign it to a variable, correct? You have to save the value here. So I can say, you know, say input val1, something like that, equal to input. Now I say print user has entered a value of comma input value. Okay, so when I run it, so you see it is waiting for me to enter the value here. So I say hello and hit enter. The moment I hit enter, the hello is now saved to input val. And when I'm printing input val here, see it printed me the text. So this is how you get user value from the user. But there is a catch here. Catch is, okay, so let's say the side one, I say input. Now input, okay, can take to either 0 parameter or 1 parameter. It cannot take more than 1 parameter. Print can take any parameter. Input cannot take more than 1 parameter. So here, okay, if one option is if I don't give any parameter, it was waiting for me to enter. Now, when I am the writer, I know the program, so I know that I need to enter value here. But if somebody else is reading, or let's say even I am reading it after 1 or 2 months, I may not know what I need to enter here. Okay, if there's one input, okay, probably I know side one, side two. But if there are 5, like name, age, subject, all those things, I may not know what I need to enter here. Okay, see area, whether you have side 1 into side 2 or side 2 into side 1 is same. But let's say if we want to print marks of the subject, so I will not know whether should I enter marks for subject English or maths or Telugu or Hindi, I will not know. So there we give something called as, it's called as prompt. Prompt basically a text, okay, which is just a placeholder. It's nothing to do with Python. Python will not, you know, have attached any significant to that. It is only for our own knowledge. So I can say here input enter side 1 or enter the value for side 1 or whatever. Enter the value for side 1. Okay, I can go here and I can say enter the value for side 2. Okay, so I can change the text here. Now let's run this and see. Enter the value for side 1. Okay, and I enter say 50. Enter the value for side 2, 40. What has happened? Cannot multiply sequence of non-int of type str. Okay, here we are assuming that these are integer values. Sides cannot be string, right? But what it has done is Python is treating them as string. Why? See, what happens when you're coming from other programming language, Java, C++, you will see that there, first when you define a variable, you have to say int type 1, int type 2. First you are defining, then you are saying int value 1, then you are saying value 1 equal to 10. So when you are saying value equal to 10, the programming language, whether C, C++ or Java, they know that the value that you're going to enter there is integer and it has to be treated as integer, right? But in Python, we do not have the declaration type. So the side one can take any value, and it can take string, float, integer, whatever, right? How, so we know that we want to enter string here, but how will Python know that we want to enter, we know that we want to enter an integer here as side, but how will Python know that we are trying to insert an integer? Python will not know. Okay, so what it has done is the input by default will read as string. Okay, because every value can be read as string, whether it's integer or float and text. We haven't discussed a boolean and complex, so we'll put it for some time. Here, this is going to read everything as a string. So Python reads everything as a string. So when Python reads everything as a string, now what you're trying to do is you're trying to multiply string to string, which is not possible. So it's giving us error. So what do we have to do? Into integer. Have to convert it into integer or float, right? Size can be float also, 15.35 can also be. So we have to convert this into float. And how do we convert it into float? Float. And where should we put float? Exactly. So we say here, okay, we say float of this. So first inside thing will be done, right? So we are saying that first input will be done. Once you get the input, convert that into float. Okay, same logic here. We say float. Okay, now you go ahead and run it. So say enter the value for side 1. I say, okay, let's start with 50 only first. 50 and side 2 is 40. You see, we got this. Since side 1 and side 2 are float, all the values are float here. Even though there is no decimal part, even the area got converted into float because side 1, side 2 are float. Okay. So this is how you read data from the user. So I'm saying enter this value of side 1 and the value of side 2. Okay, then convert that into float, convert, calculate, and then you can print it. All good so far, everyone? So two topics are left, which we need to cover before regular class starts. One is the different operations, and second thing is the if this thing. So I'm going to cover the operations now. We'll do the operations here, and if I'll give the introduction, and tomorrow it will be a good revision for everyone as well. Okay. So we will spend 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes on operations. Then we'll have introduction to if, and we will end the session here. Then tomorrow we'll start with if only. Okay, it will be practice for others also. Then if and for loop will continue. Okay, so I was talking about operations, different operations. So let's say I have a equal to, we'll talk about operations on integer today. A equal to say 50, and you have B equal to 30, right? Now C, if you want to do addition, we say A plus B, right? So I can say print C equal to C. Okay. Now, so this is how you do addition. How do we do subtraction? Minus. How do we do multiplication? We just did that star. Division is by, right? So when I run prog1, you'll see that. So you have 80, 50 plus 30, A, 50 minus 30. Okay. B minus A would have been minus 20. Right? C, A into B, division A by B. So A by B will give us division, right? And division is what? Decimal, right? So 50 by 30 is 1.666. Okay. So if I have to divide 50 by 30, that's what we did, right? So we put 50 and then we say 30, right? So 30 first time. 2 will not go, right? 32 is 60, right? So 30 comes here, you get 20. Then we put point here, right? So you get 0 here. Then 7 will be 2 times, right? So you have to say 6. 6 means 180. Again get 20, right? So 1.66661, right? 1.6 per unit. So that's what when I did 50 by 30, we got 1.66667. Okay. If you just want the integer part, we have something called as okay. So what we're doing here, we are looking at the decimal part only, not sorry, integer part only, not decimal part. Double slash. So when I run this, we get 1, not same. Okay, decimal point 66 is not there, right? I want the remainder. So what is the remainder here? 50 by 30, what is the remainder? 20. So when I go and put here, to get the remainder, we add percentage. A percentage B will give us remainder. So when I run it, you get 20. Okay, you get 20, which is your remainder. Okay. So what is, I think these are the basic mathematics operations. Logical operations are left. We'll do it in some time. Okay. So the program that we have done so far, okay, is all about executing line by line, right? We executed everything line by line. First line number 1, line number 2. Okay. So what we're saying is that till now we're executing line by line. Okay. There are occasions where you might have to not follow the line by line step. Example that we will take is finding sum and average of marks of a student. Okay, and based on the average, we'll assign grade. Now, grade can be grade A, B, C, D, or A, right? Not every student will get grade A. Based on the average, we have to do it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this part, and I'm saying AVG equal to 55. Okay, AVG equal to 55. Now I want to print grade A. Okay, let's say I want to print. Okay, so we'll go step by step. So say average equal to 55. Now let's say I want to say that if the student, okay, if the student gets average equal to 100, okay, Then we want to say that you win, say, principal's medal, something like that. So I'm looking at only one condition. So say average equal to 55. Now I'm saying if, okay, if, so this is how we write if, okay, condition. So you win principal's medal will not be sent for all the students. It will be sent to the students who have scored 100% marks only. Correct? It will be sent only to those who have scored 100% marks. So what I have to do is I have to check if the average equal to 100 or not. I have to check if average is 100 or not. If average is 100, then I'm going to print this part. So normally if I say print, congratulations, you win principal's medal. Okay, let's say I do this. Now, if even with average 55 also, I'm printing this, right, which is not good, correct? So let me say I print one more here called print. Thank you for using our program. Let's say this is our last line. Thank you for using our program. This line I want to print every time, whether the student is pass, fail, grade A, B, Z, or win medals or not. I have to print this. Thank you for using our program. Okay, but here this is to be printed only on a condition. Okay, so if you have to use condition, okay, in your program, we have if. Okay, if you have to use if, you have if. Okay, so you have if, and this is true for any programming language, whether Java or C++ or Python. We use say if, then condition, and if the condition is true only, the next line will be executed. So what is the condition here? What should the condition be here? Average should be equal to 100. Now see here, I'm using double equal to. Single equal to is to assign the value. If I say AVG equal to 100, the value of AVG becomes 100. Here, this is like checking. Condition, checking. Is AVG equal to 100? Okay. So it is like checking condition. Is AVG equal to 100? Question mark. Is equal to. Okay. Similarly, we'll see greater than less than in some time. If AVG equal to 100 means is AVG equal to 100. That's what it means. Single equal to is for assignment. Double equal to is for condition checking. Okay. So I am checking the condition is AVG equal to 100. And if it is true, yes. Okay. So first of all, AVG the syntax of if is if clause, if text as it is, space, condition, okay, colon, if condition colon, and then you write the condition, the text. Now here, this has to be inside AVG. Now, if you see all the code that we have written today, we have started from position 0. We cannot give, indentation is very important in Python. Indentation is very important in Python. You cannot give even one single space in the beginning. So if I go back to my program, say average here, if I give a space here, it will throw error. You cannot give even one single space because by default, all the lines of code is for main program. So all the statement that we write is for main. Okay. So here, but the problem here is, if I wanted this statement, congratulations, you win principal's medal, for everyone, okay, as part of main, then the version is fine. But this has to be inside if. To put this inside if, I have to say tab. Okay, you have to do at least one space. This is called indentation. Okay, you have to indent it properly. If it is part of the main program, it should start from first. The first character has to be in the first place. But if the statement you want to put it inside if block, okay, you have to give at least one space. Generally, for clarity's sake, we give one tab space, but at least one space. Now you see the flow. It means this statement is inside if, isn't it? This statement is inside if. Now, if you talk about this statement, this is starting from the beginning. This is starting from the beginning. Now, when you say this is starting from the beginning, okay, what does that mean? This is not inside this if. This is part of your main program. So if this condition is true, if this condition is true, only then this part will be called. If this condition is false, then this part will not be called. Line number 4. Line number 6 will be called in any circumstances, whether condition is true or false. If condition is true or false, line number 7 and 6 will be called, because 6 is from main, is part of main, and your print here, this is part of your if block. And you can have many, many statement inside this. You can not be just one. You can have any statement. Here I can say line 2 for full marks or something like that I give. So what happens is this line for full marks is inside this AVG. Now when I put this inside AVG, what has happened? This will be part of this condition. So this line 5 will be called only if equal to 100. Yes, 4 and 5. So first thing we saw that we have to give a space. You can give one line, one space, 2 space, 10 spaces, doesn't matter to Python. Okay. So we use tab. Okay. Now when you're writing the second line, now for if, that becomes a starting point. I cannot give one space here and this I start from here. This will be error. Number of spaces that you give in the first line, same number of spaces you have to give for the rest of the line. So here you get like this. Is it? No, you can't give more, you can't give less. It has to start from same position. Okay, that's why it know that okay, this is inside if. Okay, tomorrow we'll take a little more complex and we'll see how if can go into if and things like that. But for now, you see that your print has to begin from where the first print starts. To indicate that both of these are part of your main if. Okay. So this we have to take care of it. Okay. So now when I run this, average 50, program 1, of course, thank you for using our program because this average is not 100. But if I make this average equal to 100, okay, you will see. Congratulations, Reveal Principals Medal, line for full marks. This is your line 5, and then thank you for using our program. Thank you for using program is in main. So that means it will be called in all the cases. Okay. Now, what if we have more than 2 conditions? So let's say passing mark is 40%. Okay, less than 40 we say fail, more than 40 we say pass. Okay, so one condition means if. So I say if AVG, okay, greater than equal to 40, greater than equals, less than I will put, right? It should be greater than equal to 40. It's coming less than. Okay, so let's do less than only. If average is less than 40, then what should we print? Sorry, you have failed. Okay, and else. Else means whatever be the condition, above condition. If those conditions are not met, then else will be printed. Okay, so see, if we had only if condition was true, printed, condition was not true, it did not print. Here, if you have if condition, if condition is true, print line number A, otherwise print line number 10. Else means if the if is not true, then print this. So I'll say print congratulations, you have passed. Okay, sorry, you have failed, and else. So in this case, if I run this, I will get, okay, so this is for 100, then you have, congratulations, you have passed, because this condition is false. So this is like asking, is AVG less than 40? Yes, true. So the condition should evaluate to either true or false. Condition will evaluate to either true or false only. You cannot have something anything else other than condition. The whole text between if and the colon. Okay, colon is also important. Okay, the end of the if statement should have a colon. So the condition between colon and the if should evaluate to either true or false. Okay, you can have multiple conditions also. You can have multiple conditions. And how do you use multiple conditions? We use logical operator and or. And you must have done in electronics, digital electronics, right? What does and means? And come on.
Both the conditions true or the condition is true.
Right. If both the conditions are true, true and true will give you true. If even one condition is false, it will give us false. So ultimately, you are evaluating the true or false only. You can have multiple conditions, but it's like a plus minus, right? 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 9. You have multiple numbers, but when you evaluate, it will give you one number only, right? So this is how we will see in the next. So this is like AVG less than 40, failed, otherwise pass. Now we can have multiple conditions. So before that multiple conditions, what we'll do is, let's say I want to print grade A, and grade A is when you get more than say 80%. Let's say when you get more than 80%, you get grade A. So I'm going to say if AVG greater than 80. Okay, if AVG greater than 80, I'm saying print you got grade A. Now, okay, so more than 80, I don't care whether 90, 95, 100, okay, I don't care. Okay, more than 90. Now let's say, so this is, so see what we have done here, this is one block of if. These are called blocks, one if block. This is another if block, if else block. I'm going to create, this is third block, right? I'm going to create one more block. For grade B, I'm saying if AVG greater than 80 and AVG not greater than 80, sorry. It has to be less than. Okay, so when you say less than, if somebody scores 80, they will not get grade. So here I will say greater than equal to 80. So there I was saying greater than 80, here I was saying less than 80. If you scores 80, won't get any grade. So I'm saying greater than 80. Here I'm saying if AVG less than 80 and AVG greater than or equal to 70. Print you got grade B. So what I have done, I have created one more if block. So this is our fourth if block. So what happens? Okay, greater than 80 here, it comes and prints here. And then, so let's say if I put 70 here, then what happens? AVG equal to 100? No. False. Condition is false. It will not go inside this if. Then comes here. AVG less than 40? No. But we have else here, so it goes to else. Okay, so it says congratulations, you have passed. Then comes to this if AVG greater than equal to 80, no. So this is missed. Comes here. AVG less than 80, yes. And AVG greater than 70, yes. So this is true and that is true. So true and true will give us true. So then you got grade B should be printed here. Okay. So what is happening when you create different if blocks? It will start with if condition. Okay. Always the condition starts with if. Now here we have seen if else. Okay. And instead of doing separate ifs here and if here, we can put one if block with multiple conditions. So when we have multiple conditions, we use something called as elif, okay, in between. So if you have to check 5 conditions, if you have to check here, we'll be checking 5 conditions: A, B, C, D, and E grade. So if you're checking first condition, you have to start with if. Last condition will be else. And in between all the other conditions, you have to use elif. Okay, if, elif, else in our condition. Okay, so I'm going to do that and show you. And then we'll talk about the difference between block and writing this together. So here if I say if AVG greater than equal to 80, print grade A. Okay. Now, second condition I have to say elif. Elif AVG greater than equal to 70. Print grade B. Elif AVG greater than equal to 60. We say print grade C. Elif AVG greater than equal to 50. We say print grade D. And finally we say else print grade E. Okay, so 5 conditions. So first we said if and else. Now see here, for grade B, I have not used less than 80. I have just used only one condition. Why? So see, this whole thing is one block. Difference is if you compare this. Okay, let me pull this down. So if you compare this if and this if and this tree, these are 3 different blocks. So when you're starting a if condition, it will go and check for this condition. In this case, what happens is in the third one, it goes and checks the first condition. And if the first condition is true, it will execute grade A and then it will come out. It is not going to check these conditions. Okay. If in our case grade is 75, if grade is 75, this if became false. When this if became false, then what happened? It goes and checks second condition. It is going to check the conditions one by one, and wherever it met, it will come out of the block. So if you get 75, you are checking here. See, if you had got more than 80, this would have been printed and you would have come out of the loop, not loop, sorry, if condition. Would have come out of the if block. But in this case, since the first condition is false, you are checking the second condition. And now, yes, in this case, 75 is more than 70. You come out of the if block. You don't check for this. If you have 65, it is going to check this. And then it will come out. If it is 55, checks here, comes out. If you have something else, okay, that means less than 50. Okay, I've used 50 here, so let me use 40. So it means that between 40 to 60, you get grade D. Anything less than 40, you will. Anything less than 40, you go to grade E, else. Okay, so in this case, what happens? Only one condition will be called, and whichever matches first will be called. Rest of the conditions will not be called. So that's why we put, in this case, we have to take care of the upper condition. So for example, I'll show you. If I just say greater than 70 here, and I put marks as, let's say, 90. So what happened? 90, you got grade A, came from where? So see, first thing is, this will be false. So this is not printed. So this is false, goes to else. Congratulations, we have passed, is printed. Right? Then average more than 80, 90. 90 is more than 80, true. So grade A is printed. Now average is more than 70, true or not? True. So you got grade B also printed. Right? So that's why when you put in two A's, it is going to start from beginning. And checking condition check will happen from beginning. So you are getting both the print statement. But now if you come to this, average more than 80, grade A. So in this case, average more than grade 80, your grade A is printed. Okay, and rest of the part will not be executed at all. And if I make it something like say 75, okay, so 25, this is false, so you got grade A will not be printed. Okay, you got grade B printed, and here this condition is false, so it will go and check the second condition here. Okay, grade B, so grade B, and then it comes out, and this is anyway default line, so this will be printed every time. Okay, so we'll stop here for today. Okay, so guys, I want you to copy this program. Okay, copy in your notebook or laptop, and we'll end it here. So tomorrow we will go one more level deeper into if condition. Okay, I'll be online for next 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, do let me know. Guys, online guys, let me know if you have any questions. Okay, we'll end it here for today. And see, you'll get everything in as a note. Okay, so even if you don't copy, that's fine. You'll get a note, but you can practice this if you want. Okay, and tomorrow we will talk more about if conditions, and then we will go to next topic. We have not done, so this is Boolean. So what we are doing now is Boolean. Okay, when I say and is the operator. Okay, and means it will check the first condition, second condition, and the value. So true and true is true. True and false is false. Any false will make it false in true, in and. In or, any true will make everything true. Right? That's the logical operator we have. So logical operator, we use it in these conditions only. Okay, if and while we will use when we get into while. Saturday we'll talk about while. Okay, guys, any questions so far? No, then we'll end it here. Yes. Abhilash, Nani, Hussein, Shwalika, all good?
Yeah, sir, all good.
Okay.
Perfect. Hussein, you unmuted and then you muted.
Okay.
Okay, Nani? Okay, so tomorrow 8:30, let's connect again. Okay, so I'll be there on time. So let's connect at 8:30 tomorrow. We'll end the discussion here for today. Thank you, everyone.